Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, welcome to TFYLP, episode 497. I'm Lucas. I'm joined tonight by Catherine.
Hello.
And Anna.
I was really confused when you didn't say microcasters after TFYLP. I was like, what? Where's the microcasters?
Well, and this week I actually played the TFYLP song, whereas like last week I started off with microcasters by accident. So we're one up here. Although we have a couple, two of the three microcasters this week. So
yeah. I just haven't been on the main show in so long. I just haven't heard you say it's just TFYLP in a while.
That is true.
It's shocking.
So Zaldrun, I guess, is starting off with book club. So book club is going to be Visionaries again, 3 through 5. So that just, you guys are, I thought that you guys should start book club like however many years ago that you started, so that you could, like Anna, it would actually incentivize her to actually read through More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light, and you still have not accomplished that objective. You're still.
We read all of More Than Meets the Eye. We're on Lost Light now.
Yeah, we're going in order.
So
going in chronological order, learning the whole story, including the Visionaries crossover.
No matter how much we fight against it.
Yeah. Hey, that break for Kids players, though, that was like book clubs. That was book club's peak, basically. We can't do better than that. But we have to introduce, who's our fourth person, Rob?
Oh, hi. It's Rob.
Oh, did we not introduce Rob yet? Oh, yeah, this Rob guy. So, yeah. Kind of forgot his name. So... Anyway, book club, if you want to check that out, that is Sunday nights at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. So, on the TF Talk Discord.
It's fun.
So,
Catherine and I are there. No other cast members.
well, I think Christian is like popped in every once in a while, right? Like once a year?
Once?
No?
Twice?
Once ever.
Not once ever.
Hey, that's one more time than I have, so.
Remember when we had a Shattered Glass comic show?
I did. Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun.
And then
but it was so bad, everybody's like, nah, I'm not doing this.
I'm so bad at this software, I gave up.
So,
running streaming software is stressful. I don't know how you guys deal with that.
It is. So, yeah. It's every time that whatever gets messed up, audio, video, streaming, it's very stressful.
I think it's stressful because you can't test that it's working until you're live. And then and you have a delay on feedback on, hey, something's messed up. And so it's just like now you're trying to, open heart surgery while the patient's staring at you saying, come on. So
yeah, that is true.
If you could verify that everything was 100% good beforehand, it'd be awesome. But alas.
That's the hard thing with, doing everything live is that if whatever goes wrong, you just have to kind of deal with it. So.
Yep.
Oh, well. But I appreciate having, the audience and live feedback, when we're actually doing the show here. As we talk about if you could only collect one line, what would it be? And we already have an answer to that, which is Transformers Animated, which I think that's a pretty good response already.
Yeah, so before the show, Rob was saying that, I think it was Rob who said it, is that you can just kind of, you can choose how you draw your lines, right? If you want to if you want to draw it narrowly at one continuity, one set of figures, you can do that, sure.
Well, you know, the genesis of this topic, like I was kind of thinking about, was if someone was, you know, getting into Transformers for the first time. Say that you're like a big Star Wars collector, Marvel Legends, whatever it may be, and you're like, oh, you know, like I did Transformers when I was a kid. Like I want to get back into it. Where do I start at? That was kind of the thought, you know, with this. But then somehow
That's a very different answer.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I would say turn back. That's what I would tell them.
Run.
Run!
Yeah. that is true. I don't know. Like, which would be worse? Collecting Transformers or like Marvel Legends or Star Wars? Like, I mean, they're all just like just the amount of product that comes out for all of those.
Legends is way worse simply because the fucking things will not stand. Just save your life. I mean, you can, unless you buy like $15 stands for every single one of them, they're going to fall over all the time.
I would think Star Wars is the worst because it has all those big ships. That's a lot of space.
But you could have the coolest display if you put the time into it.
You could.
That would be a lot of work.
You could say that about everything, though.
Yeah, but I think there'd be more payoff because not too much else has like, you know, so many big set pieces or vehicles. I don't
Star
think.
Wars is such a bummer though, because it doesn't hold its value like other things do.
Oh, so horrible.
Value. Like if somebody asked me, I'm going to collect today, I would tell them, go to Walmart and buy, you know, the mainline stuff. Easy, hands down.
Depends.
You know, that's where I would start, just because it's very accessible and it's generally affordable. You know, like compared to everything, you can get really good, you know, $25 figures, which is, you know, kind of the baseline. Although, you know, there's still core class, or I don't know, whatever they call it now. You know, some of those are cool too.
I agree with that, but I've been seeing a reasonable amount of people who have been selling giant lots of everything from Siege upwards with messages like, I've decided to go to Masterpiece, or I've decided to go to Legends, or I've decided to buy a car or a home and stop doing this. Right? I've seen a lot of like, you know, I bought everything mainline and then I realized there was other stuff. So I kind of get what Catherine's saying about like, maybe you don't want to just jump right into the mainline, because if you looked around and smelled all the flowers, you might like the other ones better.
Yeah, I think Legends would be a great place to start if you were rebooting.
Well,
or somebody new coming in, you know, you can get almost everybody in Legend scale now that you can in any of the others.
It's really expensive though.
True.
The one thing I don't like about Legends is I just don't feel like they display as well as like some of the, like, I think that if you have all Legends, like you could have a really cool display over like 2 or 3 bookshelves that looks really neat, but like it just, I don't know, like it just doesn't seem as impressive to me. Like, cause I was into Legends. Well, I don't know. I feel like I've been into everything at some point, right? And I was into Legends at one point, and I think Rob gave me crap about when I got out of Legends. But you're like,
because when you got into it, I told you what was going to happen, and then it did. Like, it'd be different if it was like 7 years later you changed your mind, but it was like a year, which is totally what I called.
Yeah.
So
they need set pieces. Legends figures need something to display with.
Titans are great for that.
Titans are great for that. I have one display set up with my Legends, you know, riding and playing on my Titans. And then over my left shoulder, I have my scene in box display that I built a little factory for them to hang out in. And that looks nice. Like they need a place to be. They need something to stand on, something to help them have a place to be. They don't do as well with the line with everybody standing and the plane pose all in a line. They don't do that very well.
On the plus side, a lot of the dioramas and backdrops out there easily cater to and accessories easily cater to Legend scale.
They really do. Like those seen in box sets, like those just look right. You know, it just fits just correctly with the Legends figures.
And a few years ago, Zeta Toys had a bar scene set that was Legend scaled.
Yep.
I think if someone was asking me this, and like, I feel Legends is an advanced class. You know, because like the second you have to get into third party, I think that's a step ahead. You know, if somebody's like, you know, I'm really into or, you know, I think they're cool and I want to start collecting some of them, where should I start? I want to start them off on the beginner course, which is what can you find at Walmart and Target? You know, and then like if they get really into it and they're like, I want something more, that's when I think you start like, hey, let's talk about third party, you know, which has a variety of skills. And I think that's when Legends comes in.
Progressions, like there's really kind of been a couple progressions where I think that one, you have people where they do mainline and then they go, you know, maybe they go to TFCon or they go to TF Expo or just something like that, and they see some of the like third party stuff that's based, you know, that's kind of chug, but it's like the MMC or Planet X and some of those, and they're like, oh, that's nicer. I like that. Like that looks cooler. And so then they might dabble a little bit and buy like one or two of these, and then, you know, 5 years later they're.
I mean, I would highly recommend if somebody was like getting into it now, to either find a friend, you know, or dabble around a bit. Get a little bit of everything that catches your eye. And if you want to go, you know, I want to get everything, but I want it all to go together, then, you know, make a decision. Because there's tons of it out there.
I feel like it's really hard to be a completionist. I know, like, Rhonda mentioned that about being careful with mainline for completionism. Like, I feel like that is the case with, like, everything.
All of them.
That the problem is if you want to be a completionist, it's really hard to go back and get XYZ figure in anything. Because all the Legends from 5 years ago is crazy expensive. All the masterpiece, like, I mean, there's certain things that aren't as expensive, but like there's certain ones where it's like
there's plenty that are all lines.
Yeah,
all of them.
And that's even true of the mainline too. I mean, there's plenty of mainline. Some of those exclusives.
Go get me Gears.
So
go get me a Gears. It's like a $12 figure. I think it's like $40-$50 now. But that was like 2 years ago when I last looked. Who knows what it is now?
But that's not even talking like Greenlight is crazy expensive. I mean, there's
and it's terrible.
Yeah,
I've only not sold it because of how valuable it is. It just feels like, but you have it right now, Anna, and it's a lady robot. You should keep it, but it's stupid trash.
It's such trash. That set is such trash, and I still have them all as well.
Yep.
The Megatronia is much more interesting.
I love that Megatronia.
Much more interesting.
She is a forever toy. They're never going to make her again.
Mine came with 2 left fists.
Oh,
no. Like, what are you going to do? Hit up to car to get one?
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
And it's like, what I'm going to do? I'm going to return it.
They might surprise you. Send them an on paper letter. They might turn around and like ship you a fist, one way or another.
What? 40 cents for a stamp? Well, I don't know. What's international mail? Probably a little more.
Probably a little more.
No idea.
Another area third party does really good at, though, would be if somebody new had a character, a favorite character. Like I used to know a guy that he would Prowl. Everything Prowl. Prowl is his thing. I wouldn't recommend sure, mainline Prowl is nice, but
I mean, I would stay away from like the top 5, the top 7, because I think you will never ever finish. Prowl might be okay. I don't know. But like Optimus Prime, Megatron, Bumblebee, Starscream, like probably even Soundwave, like you would go insane trying to do it. I don't know about Prowl. I'm not sure. But I feel like, you get a pretty steep drop off in like random merch at that point.
Can you imagine if you decided to become a Bumblebee character collector in like 2005 or something like that? Like before the movie hit, you're like, all right, I'm gonna get every version of this one, and then you're like, oh crap, because I think there may be almost as many Bumblebees as Optimus Primes now. I mean, it's nuts. So, but yeah. So I guess
if your friend still has all the Prowls, have them post it to the Transformer Character Collections Facebook group. That'd be cool.
That's always fun. Yes. And make sure that it doesn't include the G1 version.
For extra trolling.
So,
I really like the idea of going and visiting a friend. Like if you had that option, like if you can find a local Transformers group and find, even if you can go to like the local swap meet and look at the toys and actually get to see them in person before you really decide what you're going to go in on. If you're a new person coming in, like, if you were a friend of mine, you could come over like Catherine did this summer and see everything. And you can sample every single line because I own some of everything.
Just a big playground.
But really,
my
though,
house
is
is a toy box.
actually good advice? Is that like a good thing? Because you did this yourself, Anna. Like how many years ago with us, where you met us at a convention, and then like
It's true.
Financially, this has probably not been a great decision for you.
It has not. That is accurate.
I mean, like, ultimately, I would tell people, don't look at a line. Buy what you like. But at the end of the day, like, we've talked about it on many an episode. At some point, you get full, and you start saying, well, I like more than I have space for. What can I do to focus my collection more? And I think that's when you start saying, well, I'll pick a line. And you probably still keep a little bit of everything, but it's like, here's a little bit of, the variety, and then here's the rest, which is all a little more consistent. But
I think that's really the main thing is like when you first get in, like you can almost have a tendency to go crazy and not be focused. And so that's the thing is like the advice to anyone getting into this is make sure to, like don't go too fast and be, more focused. So you don't want to get disappointed with, you're like, why the hell did I get all this like movie crap or just whatever it may be, that you buy. They're just like, oh God, like I have a pile of regret
what have I done
sitting over there. Yeah, what have I done? You ship a box of regret to Nick.
I don't know when you all started. That might be fun. I got back into it in 2002 or 2001, 2002, something like that. Oh, probably 2002. And that was a pretty good time. Like I can't imagine getting into it now. Like you are so hard to catch up. If you want a lot of stuff if you want anything really, it's really hard to catch up. But I started off with the Big Lots, Big Lots knockoffs. Remember they have the combiner knockoff sets. I went and bought a bunch of those because they were like $10, and I got to experience a version of them. And I was a college kid, I didn't have any money. That and the Takara's the book reissues, the G1 book reissues were coming out. And so I was able to buy those, and like it wasn't, I had to go back and collect the ones I had missed, but it wasn't like 50 deep or whatever it ended at. It wasn't too bad. And that's what got me started. G1 reissues and knockoffs, just to kind of pad out the numbers for a while. And that's when did Armada come out? When was that?
Would it be 02? Is that right?
It was around when I started. I just don't remember.
It was 01 or 02.
And like
I was like finishing high school.
That's kind of when I felt like Transformers started coming back to the US, like looking historically. Really, and that wasn't a hard line to collect comparatively. Like you could buy every Armada toy if you didn't buy the repaints, and like it'd fit on a shelf or two. I think like 2 or 3 shelves, something like that. But then like, Energon took up more shelves, and then Cybertron took up even more. It's like, it started growing. Then of course the movies happened, and now you're forever screwed. But that's what started me.
It says it was 2003.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I think that if you're patient and not picky, I don't think it's necessarily a bad time these days to get into collecting, because like a lot of the main characters, they're always kind of, releasing the next version, all that. So as long as you're okay waiting, like you could probably, wait, like, get your Optimus Prime and a version of Bumblebee and Megatron and yada yada, you know, that kind of stuff, and then kind of wait it out as they like release some of the other stuff, like if you're talking mainline. And then I feel like in general, Masterpiece has never been like I'm trying to think of how many characters that, like, if you're just doing Takara Masterpiece, you're not doing third party, right? How many are where the price is really inflated? Like there might be a few, like if you wanted to do Star Saber, I guess. I don't know if Grapple maybe. Like I haven't looked at prices lately on.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Stuff, but like I feel like in general,
I honestly think. I think in that case, it really does depend on if it was knocked off. I feel like the ones that were knocked off,
that definitely matters.
They just didn't go up in price anymore once they got knocked off. Like the Autobot cars, like Prowl and Wheeljack, and basically all of them are worth less than they came out for. Whereas like the Beast Wars figures that took a while to get knocked off were going up in price, and who knows what'll happen to them now that they're getting knocked off.
And it also depends on what color you want. Like if you want anime Wheeljack, I don't know that got knocked off versus, you know, the standard version.
I'm not sure. The pluses.
Yeah. Well, except for when it's not, and the main release is the cartoon, and the plus is the toy version. Yeah. Yay, consistency.
Yeah, if you're willing to go the KO route, KOs can definitely help you fluff out whatever you're missing for rarity.
Yeah. I mean, I know I did that originally, like when I was collecting Masterpiece. I think at the time when I first got into it, just to see if I liked it, I bought a couple of the knockoff versions, and I mean they're not actually bad. Like the Masterpiece, I actually
most of them are pretty good.
Bad. I think it's actually kind of bad for Takara because like all those knockoff versions, like it's hard to tell the difference unless you're really looking at it.
That's why they've affected the price, because they are the same product, and if you don't feel a moral ow when you get them, then what's stopping you? You know.
Yeah, if morality is the problem, then it comes down to if you've done your best to buy the correct product legitimately, and it's just due to rarity out of normal reach, then go with a KO. You tried.
I think it's. I mean, I don't know. It's buying toys. I don't really care at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Even though it's not important. But like, to me, the only time I would really even consider it's like if the original version is still being manufactured and it's still in stock, you know, at normal price, like that's when it's like, well, you're really at that point you're hurting the line. But when it's like, oh, you know, X figures, they haven't made it in years. They don't have a reissue coming out or anything. I'll grab this knockoff that's either in stock or being made. You know, why not? At that point, you're not hurting their bottom line. Maybe it hurts them doing a reissue later because it lowers demand. But I mean, I guess that'd be it. But that's, you know, some tea leaves at that point. Honestly, if you were trying to
collect knockoffs.
Hey, that was going to be my answer. If we actually went through and each gave our answer, I was going to be like, I would collect weird knockoffs. Like cool transforming dinosaurs.
Do we want to do that and you lead us off?
I mean, sure. Like, okay, so if I really was only allowed to keep one thing, that one line, I would definitely say like strange and interesting knockoffs would probably bring me the most joy out of everything I get. Like I really do have fun with stuff like this. Like, but not just like the plain knockoffs, you know, like not like an MP knockoff, because that's just the MP figure, but with some paint errors or the face of them sideways or something. This is truly extravagantly bizarre. Little dinosaur splits open and has a man head come out. It's just goofy as hell. It's a Jurassic Park knockoff, for God's sakes. So that's definitely my wheelhouse. If I had to pick just one thing.
Would you miss not having, you know, like basic representation of a lot of the core cast?
No, not really. I've
You're
realized
good.
that about myself, is that I don't like, okay, so it doesn't really matter so much to me like this, right? Like this is a really cool. I held up the New Age Black Ironhide guy. This is not Ironhide to me. This is a cool black van guy who's just a really neat mold and a really fun figure. I really don't care that this guy doesn't have fiction or anything. He's just a really cool toy. In fact, I like his counterpart, the taxi van, even more, who has even less characterization. So no, not really. Like I used to hunt down like my favorite character from various lines. Like, you know, from an anime I liked, I would get my favorite character as a toy, or from a cartoon series I liked, I would get my favorite character as a toy. But Transformers has just always been about just like the toy, the experience of the transforming figure. Like I have my favorite character as a toy, but I also have 8 million other ones. So I'm gonna miss that now. I would miss normal toys though. Like I do enjoy them a lot, but I would say if I only got to keep one thing, I would keep my oddities. But I have to include things that are just like weird lines from other cultures. Like I have that Chinese Toyline bus that transforms into a really large transformer. It's a school bus. Like, and you know, it's like that big. I love that thing. I couldn't give that up. That would have to
Or
be
your bug that transforms into a baby carriage or something.
It's one of the best things in my collection. My baby carriage moth. It's so good.
My toilet transformers.
Yeah, see,
I mean,
if I could
toilet robots that convert.
If I could only collect oddities and KOs, I would get to have those, right? No regrets. I can have the toilet. So yeah, that's what I would do because it's just fun. Like they're the things I have the most just raw, stupid fun with.
What about you, Rob?
I mean, you know, anybody that has listened to the show before, you know, probably knows that I'm masterpiece and vintage, like mostly, like hardcore mostly. Between those two would be really tough. But if I'm honest with myself, I would probably pick masterpiece over the vintage. I mean, I do love my vintage a lot and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't have representation anywhere but vintage. And a lot of them are fun. A lot of them are unique. A lot of them are dorky, and I like the dorkiness too. But at the end of the day, I think it's because with what I enjoy, if that's all I have, then I'm going to want something that's going to hold my attention longer. You know, it's like they're more complex. There's more to them. They have, you know, more presence. And I'm already sick of that word. I've heard it so many times. But they do. You know, versus, you know, chug stuff, standard stuff. Like I get more bored of those transformations a lot quicker. You know, like I still like them. Like, don't get me wrong. But, you know, it's like, at the end of the day, the masterpiece stuff it takes more of my time, like in a good way. Like it gives me more puzzle to keep figuring out. You know, if you come to one of the more complex ones, as long as it's not, there are different ways things are complex. Some are like Takara masterpiece stuff. I think all of them are wonderful transformers. Like I find them all pretty intuitive, even for the more complex ones. They're still good. And then there's some third-party stuff where it's complex and it's trash, and I hate it, but it looks really nice. You know, but it's because like tolerances or usually clearance is the biggest problem when stuff should move over there, but you're having to bend pieces around. Because then when you're messing with it, you don't know if you're really supposed to be doing that or not, unless, you know, watch a video or something. And I don't like that. I like to be able to figure out the puzzle just me. That's ultimately where I would end. And to be clear, like I'm saying masterpiece with third parties help. You know, like just a car masterpiece there's just not enough there. They're missing so much stuff. But if you throw in third party, there is not much that doesn't have representation from the G1 cartoon. You know, at least the US cartoon. Not counting maybe Rebirth.
Through season 3, I would say probably. Yeah,
through season 3, other than like the combiner sets, you pretty much got everything, if not multiple options. And you got a lot of human characters, and you got a lot of, like I got Doc. You know, you get like a lot of some of the ancillary stuff. You know, Beast Wars third parties helping out as well, but it's still kind of sad that we don't even have the season 1 cast yet. I mean, it's 10 toys. Come on, what are we doing here? But I think that's where it'd have to be.
I feel like it's kind of odd on the Beast Wars masterpiece, where it seemed like they were going pretty hot and heavy for a while, and then they've just really slowed down on that.
They were giving us one new mold a year on the Beast Wars stuff, like pretty reasonably consistently, with some repaints thrown in there, and remolds and whatever. And then they've dried up the past couple of years, and then they did the same thing with G1, where they went quiet for a few years, or like a year or two or something like that. And then it's like, hey, here's 3 new, including this big new Optimus Prime.
They're busy working on trains.
Ugh.
Yeah, those amazing.
So disappointed in those things. I just put together the Moon Studios one actually last night. He's a chonker. He is so huge. Like I'm scared to stand him up though. Like it's not that he's not well made or anything, but it's just he's big and heavy. You don't want something like that falling over, But take out a cat. But
it's so funny with that set, because I look at it compared to the official, and I'm like, man, that just looks so much nicer, right? But like Christian had got, I don't know if he got all of them or if he got most of them.
He only got a few.
I think he just got 2. I think he gave up by the second one.
It was
It
2 or 3.
wasn't the third one.
2 or 3.
But yeah, he just absolutely hated him, and then I think he got one of the official ones and was like, "Oh, I actually like this better."
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, but I'm sure part of that is just
and that meets his taste.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
That's not a surprise at all. I knew when I got them, I was like, "Oh yeah, Christian's gonna hate this." We have another friend of ours, Jeremy. And Jeremy was like, "Hey," like he really wanted a train bot set, and he's like, I was like, "Dude, just stay away from the set. They're not gonna like it." I mean, and I just recently transformed them all. I enjoy them, but there's definitely some clearance issues. Mm-hmm. But like the transformation from a high level or whatever isn't bad at all. Like I find it pretty intuitive, but then it's just like, come on, get around there, slip in or whatever, line up, you panel, like you start fighting some of that. The overall moves aren't bad at all. Like in my opinion, it's just, fit and finish sometimes.
Right.
It doesn't surprise me that Christian balked on them. I could tell pretty quickly that was going to happen. I think if people don't like Matt,
he and I have the same aversion. It's just when it gets to a certain level of complexity of transformation, it isn't fun anymore for us. And, that's a difference between us and Rob. Rob likes to be frustrated by his toys, apparently. And
they're not frustrating. I find it enjoyable.
But I think it's a difference, though, like you were saying, Rob, like where, some of the Takara stuff, it still go back to Masterpiece Megatron, where it's just so satisfying, some of the things that they do, like when you figure it out. But then there's certain third party, figures that you get, and you're just like, God, this is who is the designer on this? This is crap, kind of thing, where you're like some of the clearance issues and tolerance issues and things like that, that you have. So.
And for what it's worth, most of the stuff in my Masterpiece collection, I enjoy. There are definitely some that I don't, and it's just you're the best option out there to fill out the line, to hold the character spot. But I'm not averse to replacing you, and there's other stuff that's no, this is awesome. I love it. I'm good for life. Ultimately, I would want, I think, Masterpiece, but the ability to slot in other lines if I don't have any representation of that character. This is still my favorite thing Hasbro's ever done, or especially in a long time, is the Jihaxis. A real comic book based Jihaxis. There's nothing else that could fit that role. Now, if a Masterpiece version did come out, maybe I wouldn't feel I needed this anymore. But I would want that still in there. And even with my Masterpiece stuff now, I have a few Chug things thrown in there, be it third party Chug or there's even, I think, Double Dealer is over in there right now in the Master Force area, just because there's very little Master Force Masterpiece. But Fans Hobby's is doing some more of that stuff, so that'll probably get replaced at some point. But
yeah, that's the thing that's tough is I don't think that there's any one line that could really satisfy you ultimately, or satisfy a collector. I know for me,
not anyone,
I'm collecting pretty much mainline, and the reason that I'm doing that is just that if you want everything in the same scale, you're just not going to get the representation across the board, like you will with mainline. But then you sit there and you look at the way that a Legends, the Legend Seekers or the just whatever it may be, some of those characters were like, man, they just did this better. And I think that's even true of some of the Masterpiece. Some of the Legends, like you look at it and they've did it better than the Masterpiece. You're like, man, I wish I could, could they take that and scale it up to Masterpiece level? And some of those, but then it's like, oh, I don't want to have all that. So I feel like Anna and Catherine probably have the right idea where they just don't, pick a line. They just buy what they want and,
That's what everyone should do.
Right.
But the problem is when you don't have a line is sometimes you get something that feels good in one way but feels awful in another way. That's how I feel about a lot of my Masterpiece stuff. I never want to transform quite a few Masterpiece figures again, but geez, having them on the shelf in bot mode looking cool and getting to play with them as action figures is nice. I feel that way about both Sunstreaker and Hound. They're both on my shelf. They both look so good. They're fun to play with as robots. You make them do things. I really don't have any desire to transform either of those toys again, ever. Because it took a long time. It's annoying.
Yeah.
I love Sunstreaker's transformation. I got one of the repaints a couple years ago and got to experience it again, and I was just still blown away by it. And Hound, I really loved it the one or two times I transformed it, and now I'm worried about breaking it because that figure is notorious for it. And that makes me sad, so it just sits there. I actually looked at the knockoffs of that just so I could have something I could fiddle with, but apparently they're literally the same quality. And so I was like, well, that's not any better.
Yeah, it would just let you it would give you something that you could break. And you'd only feel bad for $60 instead of $100 and whatever.
Whatever it was, yeah.
I'd still feel bad breaking $60.
I use Hasbro as my nice baseline to just kind of generally cover as many of the characters as I can, and then I go to third party for what they're never going to do.
I think what they're never going to do is extremely small. I think there's very little that is off the table anymore. I think they've shocked me for 15 years. I always think back to Straxus. That got made. I thought that was really cool, and surprising for them. But these days, I feel nothing's off limits except for the DJD member that turns into an electric chair. That one they might not do, but everything else I think has a good chance of that. I don't think it's out of reach.
If they mark it as an upside down submarine mode, maybe.
It's a lawn chair. You could just pull down the electric parts. It's just a normal, happy lawn chair.
But thanks to third party, I have fun things like my Kang toys. Lovely take on the Predacons. The little Iron Factory's little samurais are adorable. Like a little samurai shattered glass Leo convoy, so cute.
I wasn't thinking of it that way, but yeah, you're right. Highly aesthetic, different takes on it. Hasbro's not going to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely true.
And both those figures that Catherine just mentioned, or both those lines that Catherine just mentioned, neither of those fall into any of the lines, right? If you were to say MP with a few extra things, okay, those don't count because they look nothing like the Predacons, but kind of do, and then look nothing like random characters, but kind of do, so they don't really fall into that line. So if you're drawing those lines, like we are supposed to be discussing, you do leave out some cool, interesting novelty stuff. Like that Monkey King behind Catherine there. I know she loves that thing.
Love that thing.
But
it's so fun.
What line allows you to collect that?
My line, is a one per character. That's the only Monkey King allowed in my collection. No more Monkey Kings.
Anna tried to do that for a while.
I
she
did.
fell off the wagon a little bit.
I just decided to collect every RC and a bunch of Bumblebees. And
remember when collect every RC used to be like 2 figures, maybe 1?
I have decided to. I'm going to buy a bunch of poop at TFCon probably. I'm going to hunt down the bad RCs that people are selling for a nickel because there's like a dozen bad RCs.
Who are the bad RCs?
Was
Spider
it
RC.
Zeta? Catherine hates that Spider RC.
It wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy it.
Perfect Effect has no fun toys. Well, the little toys were okay, but for the most part, they were always
Perfect Effect.
That is true.
The Perfect Effect and the Eye Gear, those are both
Perfect Effect
bad
and the Spider
RCs.
RC.
Oh, no.
I'm thinking about the bike one that they did with Black.
Yeah, you're thinking about the Spider Bike, which I
Yeah.
have. Yeah,
Sorry.
that one's okay.
I meant the BotCon.
No, she's talking the Beast Wars one. The actual
gotcha.
Beast Wars Transmetal Black Arachne
Bad.
color. Yeah.
Oh, do you have
So what about
Revenge of
you?
the Fallen RC?
No, just gonna be G1. We're not gonna go.
Oh, okay.
No mutilated bike people. None
What
of
about
that.
you, Catherine?
How about me? What? Favorite
What would your
RC?
one line be?
No.
Oh, my one line?
Your one definition, your one category, your one something.
Well, it would end up being like an oddity. Like my favorite thing are my Cassettacons, but that's not really a line.
You can only collect cassettes.
Still not a line, though.
Well, it can be whatever your line can be
spirit-
your line.
Well, yeah, in that case, it's just my Cassettacons. Everything else can burn. But for a line, Siege gave us everything. Siege gave us the redo of everybody we ever wanted for all, like from our childhood to present. I'd have to go Siege.
When you say your Cassettacons, I think that's interesting. Like, does that include like G1 and Modern and Third Party and Masterpiece? Like, just all the
MC
cassettes
and
from
third
anything?
party, and the third party ones that scale with it.
Got it.
So like KFC.
Not the
But you're
NMC
also
size
getting
ones.
the Dr. Wu combiners.
Because they scale. They're
They kind of scale. They're smaller.
Like you, Catherine, I like toys that transform into basic shapes, and Beast Box. And I'd love cassettes too. I think that would be really fun to just like have any of the cassettes from any line, main line, any type, G1, hell, throw in the WFC, Fall of Cybertron, War of Cybertron, the circle discs is too. Why not? That would be a really fun collection, I think.
very tiny collection. They're space efficient.
Very space efficient. You can stack them. You put them in a
So
drawer.
A basic shapes collection would be cassettes, Beast Box, and Rock Lords.
With what? Soundwave and Blaster ruling them all?
They're not cassettes. They're not allowed.
They're not allowed. Oh, they just turn into rectangles.
They do turn into rectangles. You got me.
They are basic shapes, so they can come too, it turns out.
Do you also throw in those cheap like number transformers that you see on Sir Toys and whatnot?
I got one of those recently, one of the combiners. Oh, it is so ridiculous. I love it so much. Not a basic shape though, basic letters.
Put it on the side.
So
keeping
Osmos,
it.
David, I guess, whatever, is saying that Hasbro is going to be making legacy animated toys. Have they announced that yet, or is that just in a leak right now?
People think that Prowl is going to be animated Prowl. People are pretty... It's all just rumors right now, right? Like, there's been I don't think there's been a single, like, confirmed, this is an animated person. But people are pretty sure that Prowl is animated Prowl.
There was a rumor that the Studio Series was going to get into War for Cybertron as well, like those video games. So, like, I think it's kind of interesting, like, all the different spots that Hasbro, it's like they're kind of dabbling all over the place with a lot of these, like with their new line. Like, if you consider Siege or like whatever this new universe is, that you're kind of hitting, almost everything. If you're, just dabbling, you're not going to hit it all, but some of the highlights.
Animated, I think, is interesting because, I'm sure there's others out there, but I think it's one of the few that animated, I think, really stands out as its own thing and is really isolated. Like, Beast Wars has homages in a bunch of lines. Robots in Disguise has, the original Robots in Disguise has, a couple of homages here and there. What else? Like Armada, the Unicron trilogy is starting to get some homages here and there. so on and so forth. Whereas like animated had such a unique aesthetic that it's just animated. And like with my one line, I kind of want to bring my animated collection with me just because there is no other replacement for that. Animated is animated, and that's it. And I think if they put it in Legacy, it'll be that whatever weird aesthetic.
So
they're
then
trying
your
to go
only
for.
one line is what is animated then, because it can't be animated.
It's got to be
plus
it's gotta
this
be,
other line. Then it's not one line.
Right.
Rob's
It
line
would be
is
Masterpiece.
obviously whatever Rob wants.
That's my line. No, it would be Masterpiece. I would really miss G1, and I would miss my animated collection a lot. I would have to take like some of my favorites out of each, right, and keep them and smuggle them with me on the boat to the island that I'm living on for the rest of my life or whatever.
Well, Transformers Prime is kind of similar to animated as well, where it's like it's its own thing. It's like, you know, both of them are really good shows. They're an interesting take on it, and there's nothing else like it.
I feel like Prime got a little bit, like, I feel like that aesthetic is kind of there in the Robots in Disguise that came after it. You know, like a little bit. You know, I know those toys are really dumbed down, but kind of, I mean, the show did feed into Cyberverse.
If they made the deluxes like in Cyberverse, they would have come out as being close enough to Prime. Yeah. They could hang out together and have lunch.
But yeah, it's definitely pretty distinct at the same time. One thing that I actually enjoy about being a Masterpiece collector is I stress out about it a lot less. That doesn't mean I never do, because sometimes fans' toys pre-order sell out in 2 seconds. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they sit there and the toy ends up going on clearance. Like some of the mini-bots did that, you know? Like it's all over the map, but it's just a lot easier. Like, I mean, it's a lot less to deal with. It's, you know, it's a few big releases, you know, even with the third-party stuff. And sometimes it all hits at once. And it's like, oh, I mean, I budget my stuff, so it's like I know the budget's there and it's okay. Like I've already set that money aside. But it all comes in at once sometimes, like combiners from different stuff or whatever. Whereas Hasbro has big days too. They have a lot of them lately, I feel. But I feel it's a lot easier to collect Masterpiece, and it's, for me, you know, it's a quality over quantity type of thing because I like the presentation and I like the more intricate transformation to a point. To a point. Some are just bad. But.
Well, that's why I wonder if you're a Masterpiece collector these days, if you've caught up with everything. You know, it's almost a little bit boring. I could say, like, it's probably good in one respect. Like, I feel like that a lot of the mainline, there's so much stuff coming out that it's almost hard to keep up. Whereas Masterpiece is almost the exact opposite, you know, where you're like, oh, you know, you're twiddling your thumbs and you're like, oh, I guess I got my one character every 3 months or, you know, 6 months or whatever it may be.
Well,
like,
if you get third party, it's nowhere near that sparse. You know, if you mix in third party, and almost every Masterpiece collector does. But I enjoy the slower pace.
Is that stuff coming out? Like, because I feel like we get a lot of stuff announced, but I'm just trying to think of
Keith, you know, Keith has announced like 40 figures. Like seriously, and it's insane. He's like, I'm gonna have them all done by the end of 2022. And, you know, he said that like at the top of 2021 or something. And it's like, no, you're not. And he hasn't, you know, because that was unreasonable. The rest of the companies aren't near as bad as Keith is. But no, I mean, I still get, you know, 1 to 4 figures a month at least, you know, but I augment with some other stuff too. You know, like I'll get like an Amazon exclusive here and there, you know, that type of stuff. You know, some of that stuff comes in.
Yeah.
We getting another visitor?
Yeah, I guess Phil has to come in here and speak some truth.
No, I wanted to join you guys and then first, and that's been taken care of to the point where I can come down and say hello. And
good.
I don't know. I feel like Studio Series right now is the way to go.
Yeah. Overhyped.
I'm a big 86 movie guy, and I like the Bumblebee movie toys, and I like, if they're going to do the War for Cybertron video game, that's a freaking awesome game. So
I feel like Studio Series is more flawed than Legacy because it's trying to be accurate to something. Like, all the toys just feel a little bit worse. And I shouldn't say all. There are some really amazing toys in Studio Series. Like Grimlock is really good.
Sludge is awesome.
What
Yeah, I
is
mean, the
Yeah,
what
Dinobots-
figures
That's his
are you
problem.
saying are bad? Like due to their
Not
accuracy?
bad. They just have weird flaws that bug me.
Blur's face bothers me a bit.
Oh, Blur.
Cup's face bothers me a bit.
Yep. Yep.
Studio series, yeah.
Ditto.
I forget
But I'd
about
say-
Blur.
Yeah, I mean, he was
You
one
want
of
to
the first
forget about
ones.
Blur.
Your comment, Anna, about it seems like it's worse in a way. I feel that way about Legacy because any character they've redone in there, I think, is worse than the original. Like here's Laser Prime or whatever. It's like original's better. You know, here's Prime RC. Original's better. Both of the original ones are better.
No, I agree with that. Actually, like I think the redesigns are a little bit worse in a way, but those are comparing them to like the really good figures, right? Like Road Rocket got an improvement by getting a new toy at all, and no longer being a relatively simple G2 figure, right? Like that was a step up. That Laser Prime was one of the best toys in that era of Transformers. That RC, the Prime RC, it really wasn't one of the best Prime toys, but
See,
I don't know.
Osmosis
I
is
don't
asking
know.
about the movie stuff, the Baver stuff, and you know, if you choose Studio Series, that covers that.
All right,
Sure,
I was gonna say
it does.
Studio Series kind of covers quite a bit between the Studio
Mine
Series
didn't cover
86
everything.
and Bay movies. So
Yeah. I mean, you'd be
Stu-
wrong to choose Studio Series for that reason, but you know, you're allowed to be wrong.
But like
Uh,
those Studio Series like Bayverse figures are probably the best ones we've gotten. I don't know. Like I haven't gotten any movie masterpiece. I know that it seems like that's kind of been somewhat hit or miss. Like some of the toys have been really good and some have been kind of like, not that great, but
I wanted to say something in response to something that that Rob said a little bit ago about the stress of some types of collecting. You know, like trying to get on a pre-order or trying to get that gosh darn Cosmos everyone will shut up about, that kind of stuff. I feel like being an Omni collector, just collecting everything that's interesting, really takes out a lot of the stress of that. Like when I miss something, it's like, oh well, I have so many other things I can look at, and I can just go buy this other interesting and weird fun thing and forget about Cosmos because I don't care that much. I was never going to get him in the first place, but I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't be feeling stressed about the fact he's hard to find right now because I would just go play with other toys and hunt down third-party things and look at Action Master listings on eBay because why not? Because I collect a little bit of everything. It's fun, and I don't have to worry as much about missing something because there's plenty else.
Guy,
All I'm hearing right now, Anna, is just going, ooh, look at me. I have less addiction issues than the rest of you.
I collect NECA Ninja Turtle stuff, and that cartoon line stresses me out. And honestly, Phil's been a big help to me being able to keep on top of it because he's like, "Yo, Target links up," I'm like, oh, you know. But I don't like that. I'm old and I don't want to do that anymore. Super 7 have issues, but at least Super 7s are real easy to pre-order. NECA stuff, when they do the open pre-order windows, NECA's great. Everything else though is kind of a clamor, and it stresses me out, and I hate it.
It's gotten better.
It's gotten better.
I'm in the Anna camp with it doesn't have to be stressful. If you don't get everything, just know what you're going to pre-order in advance. Keep it simple. You don't need the whole line. Just get your 1 or 2 figures and be done.
I feel whenever Hasbro does like one of their big pulse days or whatever, and like 20 pre-orders go up, I feel like everyone stresses out no matter what, because it's like so hard to keep track of what all they've announced and what all they've even put up. You know,
it's one of those things where you like click pre-order on all this stuff, and then you're like, oh god, what have I done? I like, just spend an entire paycheck on, pre-ordering. I mean, you don't pay for it up front, but still, it's, I don't know.
There'll be a month where you won't eat at some point in the future.
Right.
You need to lose weight anyways, right?
Ramen.
Fine.
I don't know. Going back to the beginning of the show, I feel like Transformers Animated is the answer, like, to all this because they're unique versions. I think all of us agree that it's a great toy line, right? Like, there's no issues with it. All the toys, the vast majority of them are really good, especially for the time or whatever. And they're honestly not that hard to track down. Like, they're
Not
I don't know.
really.
I'm trying to think if there's like any one figure like
The
there might
tail
be a
end stuff.
couple,
Like if you want like
but-
maybe dive Bumblebee, whatever that is. And then like that Prime that has like a hammer and some wings or something. Lugnut.
Yeah.
Or not Lugnut, sorry. Oh wait, is it? No, not Lugnut. What is it? Blackout. Blackout's super expensive these days.
Yeah.
Like I managed to get one retail really luckily. Like got it online, but no, it's insane now. So like, but Blackout also wasn't a big person in the cartoon,
No.
So that telling stuff is hard. I don't know what the BotCon toys are. Those might be difficult. I don't know, or they might be
Those
simple.
are very difficult too. Yeah, if you really want to go completionist with animated, if you didn't just want the main cast, if you want the main cast, you can get that pretty easy.
And you can get a lot past that too, easily. Like there's a lot of background characters that
Right.
Derek threw in that real easy to. A lot of those have toys out there too.
Yeah.
It's a great line.
But
Yeah, it definitely would give you a lot of fun to just have an animated collection. I can't disagree with that.
I mean, Animated and Prime were sort of studio series before studio series
Yeah.
because they were spitting image of what was on the screen. And with Prime, with Animated especially, that's an amazing feat because this was not some 3D animation thing where they can just make the toys off the models or vice versa. This was a very hyper stylized 2D animation style that they turned into amazing 3D toys. I mean, Animated Blur is just a fantastic toy of like how sleek and smooth Vakari turns into, and just this like tall, lanky robot that is, got a ton of personality and a ton of character.
Tall and lanky until he gets put into a cube, but
Well, yeah. I guess the spark
He
was
gets
still
better.
blinking, so he wasn't quite dead.
he gets better if you get that BotCon book or whatever it was.
Yeah.
What's your one line, Phil?
I told you, studio series.
So it is okay. I didn't know if you were like making general recommendations or if you're like that's my line.
Lucas is the only one left.
Yeah. Now,
Is
the
it
guy who
really?
came up with the topic. We don't want to talk.
I don't know what would be the line that I would collect if I could.
He said
only
mainline
collect
earlier.
One.
Yeah, I mean,
Right,
like,
was
look
gonna say,
behind
like,
you.
look.
Yeah, he said
if you look behind me over here, what one line is? Do you see all? Like,
What if you had to get a subline, like because you can say generations, which that goes back to 2007, and you can go
like
hog
hard.
wild.
I've been having this debate like with Christian and Anna on that, like just trying to figure this out as we continue the legacy line, and they keep going all these different directions. It's like, do I want to try to whittle that down? Or, do I want to keep it as more G1, or do I, want to get some of the other, like, stuff that's coming out? And so that's the thing that's, like, really hard with that, or just, like, all the weird repaints they're doing and things like that, too. And then also, collecting generations and Chug, like, do you keep, like, as they update these, do you keep that stuff, or do you sell it? For pennies on the dollar, too. Like
Don't buy Transformers trying to get your money back out of it later. As soon as you buy it, the money's on fire, and you're getting the experience of playing with it. And at the tail end of it, if you're done with it and you want to get rid of it, cool. And if you get a couple bucks for it, cool.
I'm
just put it right
renting
back into it.
toys.
Selling is a lot of work. Very stressful.
I've started I don't know about you guys, but like vintage toy shops are popping up in my area more and more often.
Yeah.
And so like now there's somebody that's like 15 minutes away, and I just take boxes of toys to him. Some of the pricier stuff I'll list on eBay myself, but even some of that sometimes I'm like, I just don't want to fuck with this here.
And
I
that's
just put it
why
back into the
Nick
budget.
wasn't allowed to be in this episode.
I mean, if Nick was close by, he would be my dude for all of it. Like I don't have to ship anything here, and he's seen how my shipping worked last time because I just didn't give a fuck. It was really bad, but it was funny. It was bad.
Nick's like, how could you? The poor toys.
What if that's your line? Pick a collector and it's whatever they're getting rid of, whatever they're tired of.
Right.
That's how I started. That's how I got bad.
Didn't you get like, don't you have like half of Lucas's toys or something?
Yeah, I was thinking Lucas's seconds.
Although what's funny is Anna was selling a bunch of the crap that she bought from me, like at TF Expo. So then
I graduated.
It's like all these things that I bought from someone else.
I graduated.
I sold to Anna.
Leftovers.
Who then she sold to someone else. It's like 5 times down the line of.
I still have a few of the things I bought from you, like the Transformer stuff. I still got the Planet X stuff. But
Anna's got a sign by her table, like only one owner, little old lady, just drove it to and from the Piggly Wiggly. She's
only
like
transformed
turning back
twice.
the odometer. Yeah.
Don't
Open to
you
inspect.
Only exactly. Open box to inspect.
Yeah.
It's like the figure's all like totally loose and falling apart.
Non-smoking, pet-free.
There was someone on Facebook in a Facebook group the other day that was selling some of the recent Wrecker toys and Red Cog from Target, and it was just like, oh, you just rented these toys for a month.
Yeah, I was saying that earlier.
They were not in box still. This was someone who took them out, transformed them, and is now like, I need money, and yeah, here we go.
It's those people who are really hunting. They just jumped in heavy into mainline recently and got everything, and then realized there was other stuff. And those people are really amusing me right now.
I think the internet makes it easy to go in hard and bounce off hard
Overdose
onto new things.
Yeah.
Easy to overdose on toy addiction.
Yeah. 6 months later, you're like, why did I do this? Because, you didn't balance yourself out. And you're just like, out. I can't handle this. I don't know what I'm doing. And we call it surging it.
Although, there's so many cast members and whatever who have all kind of went through that cycle. Like, so I think, when Sean was on the show before, like, we'd always give him crap about doing that, and then I did it.
He cycles.
And, he used to cycle a lot, and he's been a lot better the last couple years, but
because he's not on the show anymore. I mean, he's still on the show, but he just doesn't participate. He's welcome, of course.
That's probably part of it is being on the show talking about this stuff, because it's like, now you're talking about Transformers animated or whatever. I'm like, ooh. So
it's a good exercise. This is a good exercise for me, just thinking about like, where would I draw my line, because it's making me realize the things I would like never ever want to part with. Right. And it's making me realize that, it is literally, like I said at the beginning of the show, it's literally the same is one of the things I would never part with, not like, mainline cassettes or anything else in my collection. It's the weird, silly stuff.
Or Rock Lords. I know that we have like the 2 super Rock Lords.
Yeah, I can't give up a Rock Lord. I will not reduce the number of Rock Lords in my life. Only up from here.
See, what's interesting, Anna, is I feel like for myself, when I boil it down, the weird, interesting stuff from G1 are kind of the things I like the most, and like the updated versions of now, like the Terracons and the Seacons. It's like, it's a 2-headed yellow dragon robot that turns into a robot and forms the leg of a giant guy. And like, it's not quite as weird as your like egg dinosaur chibi kind of thing, but it's bizarre. And it's like, even with like G.I. Joe, it's like, oh yeah, once they started turning like fluorescent pink, like, yeah, count me in, sign me up, like, let me buy all of them. So it is like the weirder kind of tail end for some of the Transformer stuff that gets me, like the Pretenders. So many of those Pretenders are just like, he's a walrus man with a car robot inside of him. And it's like, yeah, sign me up. Give me another one of those. Yeah.
I agree. I like the the Seacons, right? Like I decided I didn't need. I picked up a few of the Seacons. I decided I no longer needed the Seacons, but I'm not getting rid of the lobster because it's a lobster transformer, and I love it for being a lobster transformer. Lob claws forever. The other ones could leave. That was fine because they were just toys. Like he was a lobster weirdo. Weirdos
not a
are
rock
fun,
lobster.
even if they're from Hasbro.
He's
Not
a
yet.
lobster.
Rock lobster.
I learned where my true line was a couple of years ago when I had to evacuate because of fires in the area. And I had enough time to actually like decide what box am I taking with me. And boy, those Cassetticons were the first tiny things in the box because they took up no space at all. Them and Megatronia.
You didn't have to worry about breaking them.
No, everything was fine.
Yep.
I had enough time that I could patiently transform. You know, it's
Got it.
The fire's still 3 houses down.
it was like 3 neighborhoods away. It was fine.
Plenty of time.
But yeah, I think that that's a lot of it too. Is like what makes your collection unique, because obviously if you have the same stuff as everybody else, like it's like, oh, well, you know, what's the point? But if you have some of those odd ducks, you know, that's what defines your collection, no matter what.
I agree.
Bedford's post in the chat is amusing.
You want to share with the class?
She loves lobster transformers. What a shellfish individual.
I am a big fan of puns. I appreciate that.
So quick gripe. When someone says I'm allergic to shellfish, it's like, no, you're allergic to crustaceans. It's not shellfish, crustaceans. You're allergic to crustaceans. Get your phylum right.
That was really out of left field. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like the
and I don't
passion
even know if
behind
I'm.
it, though.
Yeah.
You make me sound on topic.
Started talking about lobsters and there was a shellfish pun, so I just. Yeah.
So somehow, I don't know you know, luckily though we can get right back on topic with that, right? So, I'm
Is there a topic left?
We got, yeah, I was gonna say we may be running.
What would make you change your decision tonight?
Infinite space and money.
No, I'm not saying like, all right, not saying from a space perspective, but is there something? So like for me, Studio Series line didn't exist a few years ago, so I probably would have said either MP or mainline. You know, is there something that hasn't come out yet, or you know, if they did something, what would make you change either to another category that's already out there or a line that would be somewhat improved or different than what we have today?
If third party, you go. No, you go.
A Legends Megatronia.
And I apologize. Who's Megatronia again?
The Unite Warriors repaint or Takara repaint of Victorion.
Ah, yes.
Like
yes.
like a whole team of like matching goth girls. It's great.
Yep. No, I remember. Yeah, the black with the neon like blue and yellow and pinks and yeah. No, that's
Okay,
fun.
Pretty set.
Yeah.
For me,
If you get the translated version of their comic, they're even better.
If third party stopped making, or if you went back in time and took away third party from the Masterpiece stuff, like if third party never, you know, augmented the line, Masterpiece would be a lot more boring. That would get it for me. But at this point, it's all already out. I already have it. Mm-hmm. So
that's why I kind of feel like if Takara had made more Masterpiece, you know, like I think that I may have stuck with that. Like, but I don't know. There's too many holes and, you know, too many frustrating figures where you're like I hate having a like, you know, a filler toy kind of thing that is like, well, I don't really like this toy, but this is the only, you know, whatever blur or something, or the you know, the only proper blur to get in there or something like that. So like at least I feel better like if it's a $20 toy versus a $120 toy that I don't really like anyway, But I feel like for the most part though I've been pretty happy. Like most of the Takara Masterpiece figures are always usually pretty good. Like with like a couple of the Hounds and something, but
Hound's transformation is awesome. IMO. I love it.
Right.
IMO.
You just worry a little bit about
I'm just worried about breaking it, yeah.
Yeah.
And then can't stand in robot mode. That's all I want is I want to stand in robot mode ultimately.
And I guess
that's the only reason. No, the RC is a mess, but the KO fixed it by making it worse to transform.
To me, as fun as the MP line is, and as great as those toys look, I feel like you can't have a good MP collection without having third party toys in there. So I feel like that's the biggest.
Yeah, that's what Rob said earlier.
Yeah, so
you have to accent it.
Yeah, and then if you say, all right, I'm going to collect third party, well, then you kind of start getting, you got some amazing toys, but the price tag starts getting crazier and crazier, and then it's like, oh, this was a cool toy, and 3 years later they do a better one. You're like, oh, I spent a lot of money on that, that previous Scourge, and now they're going to do another Scourge, and
if you're happy with what you got, keep it. If you want to upgrade, enjoy the upgrade. That's good. You've already spent the money, and you enjoyed your time with it. Just got to roll with it. Mainline does the same thing, just at a lesser scale.
Yeah, but to Lucas's point, it's an easier pill to swallow when it's the mainline price point.
Yeah.
It's like when Legends started a few years ago, a bunch of people tried to say like they were only going to collect New Age, or they were only going to collect Iron Factory, or they were only going to collect Magic Square. And no matter which of those you chose, you would be dissatisfied because something is missing. For instance, MFT, that former KO company that still makes KOs sometimes, has made the triple changers, and they're a little bigger, but they look great with your Legends toys. Doesn't matter which direction you chose to go, those guys are going to be tempting you. So drawing that line is it's really hard to draw that single line and say, I'm just going to get, this maker, this set.
Your one line should be KOs.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Although I did say KOs and oddities. I don't want to give up my oddities.
Because just an oversized KOs alone add a lot.
I feel like a lot of what you like, Anna, is it's from a knockoff company, a traditional knockoff company, or they use that cheap, crappy knockoff plastic, but they're unique designs, right? Or they're original in some way. A lot of it is. It's just we lump it with knockoffs because it's cheap plastic,
And some of it isn't cheap plastic, like that bus I mentioned earlier. Like that was made with like mainline Transformers plastic for some oddball reason. It's a really high quality giant bus transformer for someone. It was made for me, basically.
Is it like a Korean toy? Because there's a lot of Korean Transformer lines that have come out in the last decade.
I don't know if it was a Korean or Chinese toy line. I know it was a toy line. They made a lot of different buses. They made a double-decker, a school bus, a regular city bus. I think there's a prison bus. They're great. They're all the same.
This school bus is the bad guy.
The school bus looks evil. It has like an evil monster wolf face. I think it is a bad guy. They go to village school.
It's very protective of its charges.
We'll say Studio Series does have some duds as much as I enjoy the line.
Well, luckily the Masterpiece scale wheelie is fantastic though. So
the later versions are fine. The later versions volley are fine.
The core class, I think, is full of figures with really poop face alt modes. Like
I just don't have the budget to put joints in it and to hide things more.
Because like the robot modes in all the core class that I have so far have been fun, but the alt modes, I mean, gosh, the the first thing that happened was that first studio series core class of freaking Spike Daniel, whatever he is, exosuit trash baby. Oh, I hate that thing so much. It's like the most buyer's remorse I've had in years over an $11 figure because I just dislike it so strongly. It really has a bad alt mode.
I like mine because Paul gave it to me as a gift when he came to visit like a month ago. Him and Grant came down. That's why I like mine.
The damaged box.
It was after I got done with it.
Sorry for the core class rant.
Paul said our topic has become way too pro third party for his liking.
I know. I was going to add him into the show to see if he wants to join and give me his thoughts on which one, you know. Of course, I don't know. Is that kind of the genesis of his like character collecting that he's like, oh, I'm going to limit it to a certain character and like just the main ones and, you know,
I think
collect
so.
like 200 versions of Starscream.
Yeah, but then he also said, I'm going to limit it to just the main, this main 24 characters.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like a lot of y'all end up going really like pro Hasbro and really like loyal to Hasbro. So I was really glad to have a cast of me, Catherine, and Rob tonight. Because it's like, none of us care about that Hasbro line. It's like, if third party is better, we get it, because
these are companies, for-profit companies. They
don't
care about loyalty.
That's my thing too.
Consumer products.
I can be loyal to people, but corporations not really.
Yeah.
I'm not choosing the Hasbro line because I'm loyal to Hasbro. I mean,
I shouldn't have included you. I didn't mean to include you in that, Phil. You were in the original cast. You got added later.
Okay. I'm just saying, like, the Studio Series line for as old as it is, the number of toys they've put out, the quality of the toys they put out, the price point of the toys they put out, it's a substantially solid line.
My whole argument was Paul is wrong. That was it, Phil.
I mean, you can do that.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
Well, on the note that Paul said corporations are people too, should we start winding down?
There you go.
So, was that Catherine?
Oh, as much as I love my third-party toys, and I have, and I plan to buy many, many more. At the end of the day, Hasbro is what I'm reaching for to just idly fidget with at the desk. Because if I break that thing, it's easy to replace.
Fidget toy. This is my fidget toy. I'm as weird as I act like I am.
You're not likely to slice open your finger fiddling around with a Hasbro toy. Third-party KO is just like, oh, that plastic just shattered, and it's sinking deeper into my flesh.
Somehow that's never happened to me. Wonder why.
Well, I guess that, thank you guys for joining me tonight and for discussing this topic. I think next week we're going to have some more Hasbro announcements, right? I think. Is PulseCon
Probably.
next week?
No, I think it's the last weekend of September / first weekend of October.
Oh, okay.
Oh boy.
I think we have like one more episode where we have to figure out a topic before we can just discuss Hasbro, reveal reactions.
Coast on Hasbro reveals and talking about TFCon.
Yeah, we can do the what do we think they're gonna reveal episode and talk about the rumors. Right. So that's shooting ducks in a barrel.
Well, I would say the Hasbro stuff, they've already I think a ton of the crap has already leaked. They've leaked the next year or something like that. They're not even going to reveal that much stuff.
Yeah.
I recommend for next week's topic, everyone talks about their favorite transforming baby carriage.
Or just favorite third party in general.
I like the oddities show we did a long time ago. That was really fun.
More oddities shows.
We did an Ouch My Oddities. It was fun.
There you go.
I thought the
favorite
oddity show was just like us as the cast.
Right.
Tee hee.
It's like what's my favorite oddity in my collection? So I think I'd be
But what is
interested
something-
to see that from Rob. Like see
What is an oddity in your collection, Lucas?
Do oddities.
I don't know. I have some third party, but yeah, there's nothing truly like there's some vintage stuff I guess that might be rare.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't have any transforming baby carriages though, if that's the question.
This would be maybe my biggest oddity.
I think that's a good oddity.
Yeah,
Solid.
I don't have.
turns into a giant phoenix.
Obscurios are fun. I love Obscurios.
Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight, and thank you to everyone in the chat. We had a pretty good discussion in the chat here, so thanks to Zaldron and Ron, and thanks to Osmos Darkhill David. Thinking, relatively new. Thanks to Jose Vidal. Thanks to who else we got?
Bedford.
Of course, Paul. Oh, and Bedford was in there too. So, yep. Well, thank you guys. I don't know, Anna, have we figured out what we're doing on Microcasters this week?
A toy.
Yeah, it's probably mainline.
Some boring thing from mainline.
We don't
That's
have
what we're
to
gonna
that.
do.
We can go back to if you have some weird crap to show off.
I could talk about this. I've told her 40 times.
So
You guys can talk about Studio Series or see again. And I'll just talk about this.
Oh,
It's
there
perfect.
you go. So yeah.
I think I'll have that spider by then. We could just talk about the spider for 4 hours straight. I'm so excited for that thing. See, I said boring mainline, but then I started thinking about tarantulas. So I changed my mind entirely.
There you go. Have you not got your tarantulas yet?
No, he's coming tomorrow.
Oh,
I'm excited.
I think I got mine on.
I
Steam.
waited for Pulse for mine.
Amazon
Yeah,
sent me
my
my
Pulse
Wild
comes
Rider
in.
today, so that wave is hitting.
Yep. So, but yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. So we already went over the book club earlier in the show. So,
Visionaries, woo.
but yeah, there you go.
What the
It's
hell is
exciting.
wrong with you people?
We don't have time for that.
We
What
already
do you-
covered it.
That's an episode of its own.
Yeah.
Why
That's
do
a
you do
lot
that
of
to
episodes.
yourselves?
That's the past 5 years of shows. So
God dang.
Chronological order, Phil. We addressed that earlier.
Had to be.
Isn't there an
completionist.
important character death in the Visionaries book?
Yes, we
Yeah.
covered it in the last session of Book Club.
Yes, it's their franchise.
put on bump. Sick burn.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys, and we will see you next week.